Hi, this is Tracy Wilkerson. I have a slideshow about our ninth grade 4-point trip to Ecuador. Normally, we are able to gather with some parents and families during our winter family weekend, and this year we were not able to do that. So I'm going to try to do a voiceover and go through some of the slides and share some information. First of all, this year we have 2 trips going to Ecuador. The first trip will be led by Todd Siekman and Courtney Cook, and then the second trip will be me, Tracy Wilkerson, and Brett Schifrin. We also will be joined by Amazon Learning. Amazon Learning is a company that focuses on eco-travel and cultural immersion in Ecuador. It was started by Andy Gavilanes, and he's working with Stephanie Cridlow. So the first question, 4-point. Why do we do 4-point? 4-point fits into a broader curriculum here at Gould. The ninth grade travels, the 10th grade stays on campus generally, and it's self-exploration and community exploration through art and community service. 11th grade, the focus is self-awareness as they head out for 9 days of winter camping. 12th grade, independence, when the students are designing their own projects and working independently. The goals of the 4-point program. Some of these slides I'm going to just go through knowing that you can go back and read them on your own, so it doesn't have to have so much time of me talking. These are the types of learning that we focus on with the ninth grade 4-point. The photos that are shared in this slideshow are photos from previous trips to Ecuador. When our students return from traveling, we ask them to distill down some of the most profound learnings and prepare a TED Talk style presentation. Okay, so really, where are we going? We're going to Ecuador. Ecuador is on the west coast of South America, and the equator goes right through it. If you are someone who likes to look up specifically where we're going, this will help you get a sense of where we're headed. So the first day we will spend in Quito. We'll go visit Mitad del Mundo, the middle of the world, and we'll look at we'll go someplace where we can look over the whole city and get a sense of the history of the city and how that shaped the country. From Quito, we will head to the Cotopaxi area and visit a ranch, Corrales Viejos. This is a place, it's in the highland, so the climate is very different. It's very cold, not very cold, but it's not the jungle. It's cold, and we work with horses, and the horses end up kind of acting as a mirror to our students and helping them learn about themselves and what they bring to relationships. From Corrales Viejos, we head down south to Baños de Agua Santa. Baños de Agua Santa is at a altitude where it's not jungle, but it's definitely a lot warmer and different from Corrales Viejos. Baños de Agua Santa is known for having beautiful waterfalls and rivers and scenery. From Baños, we head downhill to Tena. Tena is the jungle city where a lot of our trip is based out of. It's an old trading post and still is active as a trading post. While we're in Tena, we will spend some time in La Libertad. La Libertad is a community of people who have chosen to separate a bit from mainstream Ecuador. It's an indigenous community, and they welcome us and share their lives with us. From there, we head to Sinchiwarmi. Sinchiwarmi is right near Puerto Misawayi, if you want to look that up. It's a community of people who have built an eco-lodge, and while we're there, our students stay with families. That's where we do our 3-night homestay. In Sinchiwarmi, we take some time to reflect, and this slideshow makes it sound like the trip goes really fast. It's not really this fast, but Sinchiwarmi is toward the end of the trip, and we have a chance to reflect on where we've been and what we've done and what we've learned. One of the questions that comes up frequently is about food. What are your children going to be offered to eat when they're in Ecuador? A lot of the food that they eat or that they're offered will be familiar. Some things will not be familiar. There is a lot of food that's in the jungle that I just have never seen before. So lots of fruits, nuts, seeds, uh, also staple proteins like chicken and fish. We can meet any dietary needs or requests that kids have, and it's easiest if we know about that ahead of time. The connection with the people is the most important part of this trip. Um, there's just nothing like being in another country and living with a family and getting to know people by actually sharing space, sharing time, sharing meals. This is just a few helpful words to know. We'll be reviewing these when we're traveling as well. Here are some more details, a slide you can go back to. This is one of our homestay families. Some of our families are quite small and some are quite large. Okay, so obviously the most important thing for us when we're traveling with your children is that they are safe. We want them to have a great experience. We need them to be safe. So here are some emergency protocols. The administrator on duty is that 824-77888 or the other number. That phone will always be picked up by a person. So if there's any emergency where you need to get in touch with your child, that's a number that you can call. When we're traveling, we use a Garmin InReach satellite communicator. We also have our own cell phones. And as extra precaution, we travel with the protection of international SOS. While we're traveling, the students will have laminated cards that have important phone numbers and information on them. The students also, your children will not be alone during the trip. They'll never be like sent off on their own. But we like for them to have that in their pocket anyway. Okay, so a couple things. Gould's Code of Conduct still applies. We expect our students when they're traveling to be just as wonderful as they are when they're on campus. The student contracts that were established in the beginning of the year that are signed by the student, their parents, their advisor, are the backbone of the rules and the expectations for while we're traveling. We do things a little different when it comes to cell phones on the trips, and Ecuador specifically. There are some places where we don't have good cell reception, so it doesn't make sense to have a cell phone. But then we also we ask the students to leave their cell phones. When we arrive in Ecuador, we collect their cell phones. The way that I see that is there are so few opportunities for students to unplug right now. And so this kind of forces them, and maybe for the last time in their life or the first time in their life, to be a little bit disconnected from things that are far away and to be connected with what's happening right in front of them. The conversations on the bus when we're traveling from place to place change dramatically when the kids are not constantly don't constantly have access to their phones. So what that means is I use my cell phone for taking pictures. When I travel with a small camera so that I'm not pulling out my phone all the time. We ask students to do the same. We do have a couple of cameras that kids might be able to borrow, but if you're able to bring one or pick one up, that would be great. Another thing is kids don't really wear watches anymore, and the phones are their flashlight, their timekeeper, and their camera. So that's something to consider when you're looking at the packing list. And I missed something there. I missed the dress code. In Ecuador, we're pretty fortunate. The dress code is fairly relaxed. It's nice to have clothes that are going to be modest and in good repair. When we're up in the highland, it can be very cool. When we're down in the jungle, it can be warm. The items on the packing list will have you all set if you bring that stuff. When we're traveling, coming from the United States, we have a lot, and the places that we're visiting don't have as much. So we do invite people to make donations for the schools in Tanzania, Ecuador, and Peru. Some of the things that are most appreciated in Ecuador are clothing and school supplies and balls, soccer balls, things like that. Okay, so here's some more details. Since we have these two trips, these are only slightly different. Obviously, the date's different, but you can have a look at those. And if you have any questions, get in touch with me, Tracy Wilkerson, Todd Siegman, or Chris Hayward. Questions? There you go. So thanks for listening, and I would much prefer to have done this in front of a room full of people than sitting alone looking at my computer. But thanks, and again, if you have any questions, let me know, and you can scroll back through this presentation to get any information that we went over too quick.